Hey guys, it's Troy again, and I wanted to share with you a pen that I just recently got within the last week or so, and it's one that kind of is by request by somebody who saw me put this pen as my pen of the day up on Instagram. By the way, you can always follow me on Instagram. Here's how to find me there. But this was circa 1942 or so. I got this from Antique Digger, antiquedigger.com, and of course, use discount code Troy if you want 10% off your purchases there. I buy a lot from Greg over at Antique Digger. I do highly recommend him because I know that he's going to put out quality pieces, and he's very selective about what he purchases and restores and puts out, and you're going to find them priced as such because you know that you're going to get some higher end pens. But this one here, Sheaffer Triumph, I really liked this pen and how it looked. It was impeccable. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share with you the video right now that Greg had put up on Instagram about this particular pen.
I wanted to show you, I got this circa 1942 Sheaffer Triumph wideband in the Carmine celluloid. It's a plunger filler, impeccable condition. Trim is excellent, wideband excellent. The imprint, I can find it. There it is. Just nice, deep, crisp imprint. I didn't fill it in this time. This has a great nib on it. It ranges from a medium 0.72 to 0.88, but if you write upside down with it, it'll get an extra fine 0.42 millimeter. So I restored the plunger rod, the packing unit in there, and the plunger rod gasket. So all we're doing is just dropping that down in the ink, push that down, and we have ink in the barrel.
So, what was it about this particular pen that attracted me? Well, a couple of things. Number one, Sheaffer is one of my top two favorite brands of all time, especially when it comes to vintage pens. You can see here that it's got a gorgeous red Carmine celluloid to it. And quite honestly, I didn't have anything that was in a red Carmine. And I've been a fan of this color for a very long time. I've seen some pens that were very nicely, beautifully colored, and this one was just in some fantastic shape. So I went ahead and decided to go ahead and get it. The other thing is the wide band. The wide band here is absolutely beautifully stunning. Give you a nice close-up of it. I'm just very, very happy with how that looked. And I said, you know what? That is something that I could surely go for. So the other thing that attracted me is you can see it's got a more conical style nib. I'm quite honestly a fan of the Sheaffer Triumph nibs. I've got several pens from Sheaffer that have that kind of nib, so I've pulled some out of my drawer, and I'm going to give you some without that style of nib just by comparison. So, for instance, Sheaffer Snorkel, and you can tell that's more of a traditional style nib. Alright, so I'm going to lay this out. This is uninked, so I don't mind laying that out as such here. And compare that to another Sheaffer Snorkel, but this one obviously in a demonstrator, and you can see it's got that Triumph style nib on it. Great writing pen. I rather appreciate that pen as well. Alright, so let's pull out another old Sheaffer, an old lever filler from the 1940s or so, and you see that's got the open nib to it. And of course you've got a nice little one here, another conical style nib. And all of those pretty much, you can tell they don't all have the little turn up nib, little bent nib at the end. This one certainly doesn't. So you can see the difference. You've got the traditional style, then you've got the more conical style nib. Putting these up side by side so you can see what the big difference is between the two. So I've told you what I've liked about this pen so far. Let me tell you what I wish was a little bit different. I like larger pens. This is a little smaller than I personally prefer. But when I saw that the color, the condition it was in, the wide band, and the conical nib, I went ahead and I spent the money for it because it's something that I definitely wanted to have in my collection. Now, you saw in that video how you would fill it with that plunger. You've got that cap, that end cap right here, and this does twist. I will do this so you can see that. But what I'm not going to do is pull it and plunge it. So if you get like a VAC 700 R Twisby, that kind of thing, then you know how it operates. And you saw in the video that I shared from Antique Digger about how that plunger works. So you would pull it out, stick it in the ink, and go ahead and press the plunger down. It would actually create a vacuum when it gets down around here, suck ink in up behind that plunger ring. So anyway, let's go ahead and see how the baby goes to write. You got to try to cap it or to post it. It's not going to post very well, or at all, really. So you're not going to be able to do that. Now, I've been using this pen quite a bit here the past several days. Matter of fact, my pen pals have some letters in the mail with this particular pen that I had used right early on the letter. So let's go ahead and go with a Sheaffer, and this is a Triumph, circa 1942 or so. And then you can see it's got that nice little bend at the tip of that nib, but it does have a nice conical style Triumph nib. Now this nib is rather firm, and you really don't want to try to get flex out of these nibs. I don't recommend it whatsoever. To get a little bit of line variation, not really. I mean, you can try, but you're not going to really go anywhere with it. But you can get a nice little wet, a wet line out of this particular pen. So this, to me, I can tell you it writes very, very smoothly on a Rhodia dot pad and on Clairefontaine compared to an ordinary notepad. I've been using this an awful lot on regular note paper and on Tomoe River, but when you go to use it on Rhodia or Clairefontaine, it definitely has a nice, much smoother writing on this particular paper surface than on others. But been doing really, really well. This particular ink, in case you are interested whatsoever, is Robert Oster, Frankly Scarlet. Federalist pens. If you can find Frankly Scarlet, as I recall, exclusively through Federalist pens. Robert Oster has a bunch of inks made and distributed through Frank at Federalist Pens, hence Frankly anything. So he's got Frankly Blue, Frankly Green, Frankly Scarlet. In case you're thinking right here, Frankly Scarlet, actually that's a misquote. Gone with the Wind, it is Frankly My Dear, not Frankly Scarlet. So often misquoted that way, but just so you'll know. So I'm not going to go play a clip of Rhett Butler. Anyway, very nice, very smooth pen, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous pen. I really, really love the red color on this particular baby, and it writes nicely, so I've been right happy with it. And it has a pretty good ink draw to it too. Been using this pen a lot. I have not run out of ink. You know, on certain kinds of paper, it's a little more scratchy than others, so it does make a difference with this particular pen as to what you're writing on, as to how much feedback and scratch you get. But like I said, on a higher quality paper, it does really, really well. Tomoe River, it does well. Rhodia, Clairefontaine, it does well. On ordinary copy paper, it's a little bit rough, but it still writes okay. But I've been using this pen, like I said, a lot. 1942 is the era that it's from, thereabouts. 1940s for a plunger filler. And again, antiquedigger.com. Highly recommend you go to that website and look for your next vintage Sheaffer, or maybe vintage Waterman, or any of his other vintage pens that are nicely restored and ready for you to purchase. Discount code Troy for 10% off. So, hey, thanks for watching. Maybe you get some ideas for your collection, but I'm also going to be on the lookout maybe for some bigger red Carmine pens, because of all the celluloids that Sheaffer came out with, I really think that the red Carmine so far is probably my favorite, which is why I was on the lookout for one, and when I finally found one that seemed to be the condition that I wanted and all the other attributes that I said that I liked on it, then made me want to jump at it. But I'm going to keep my eye open too for some more that I can find in a red Carmine celluloid that maybe even be a little more oversized, would fit even better in my hand, but still would write tremendously well because it's a great vintage Sheaffer.